Hello, kiddos. Okay, let's keep on with our story here. The last time we saw Abram and the promises that God made to Abram, telling him to leave his family and his country and that God would bless him. And so Abram leaves with a few of his family members, and they start traveling to the place where God is leading them. On the way, he builds an altar. We talked a little bit about that because Abram wanted to worship God, and he wanted to remember where he had worshiped God and what he had done. So sometimes we do things like that. We will maybe put pictures on the wall of something special that God has done for us or our family members, or we might do a mug, or sometimes Opa will do a bookmark for his Bible to remember things. But Abram would build these altars made out of rock, and there he would pray to God and thank God for his blessings. Well, we're going to start now. We're going to jump over some things and come into Genesis chapter 13, okay? And we're going to see how God starts blessing Abram and fulfilling his promises to him. Okay, so then it says, then Abram went up from Egypt, because he had gone down to Egypt for a trip, and he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot went with him. Now Lot was his nephew who had come out of the old country with him. Lot was a man, had his own family, and so he was older, but he was a nephew. He was younger than Abram, obviously. And Lot went with him to the south. Okay, this is down into the promised land area. And verse 2 says, Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver, and in gold. Now God had promised Abram three things. He had promised him riches, he had promised him a land, a country, and he promised him a son. So here we see Abram is beginning to receive the promises of God. He becomes very rich, it says, in livestock. That's cattle and sheep, donkeys maybe, and so forth. So you all know what that's like because you live on a farm. But it wasn't only livestock. He was rich in silver and in gold. That's more or less the same as saying he had a bunch of money too. So God blessed him, and he was able to sell things, and he was able to become a very rich man. So that's God's blessing on him, as he promised. And he went on his journey from the south as far as Bethel. So he's coming to a town or a place called Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning. He took a long trip to Egypt, and now he comes back. It says, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the altar which he had made there at first. So when Abram first came to the land, before he went to Egypt, he had built this altar, like we mentioned before, and he had prayed to God, and he had sacrificed to God, and he had worshiped God there. Well, now he comes back to that place, and of course his altar is still there. That's why he made it. He wanted it to stay there so he could come back to it. And it says, and there Abram called on the name of the Lord. What does that mean? To call on the name of the Lord means he prayed to God again, thanked him for his protection, thanked him for his wife, and thanked him for all the livestock he had and his money. And he was a rich person now, and he was thanking God for answering his prayer and being faithful. And so we need to follow Abram's example and always be grateful to God and to look for opportunities to thank him. It wouldn't be a bad idea to have a place in your house, or maybe out in your yard somewhere, a place where you go every once in a while, and that is a little private place where you go and you pray to God and say, thank you, Lord, for my family, for my daddy, for my mommy, for my sisters or brothers, for my grandparents, just thank the Lord for a whole bunch of things that he's given you. That's a very, very good habit, okay? So I hope you'll do that. Okay, we'll come back and see what happens next in the next story. Okay, goodbye. Love you.